Welcome to the Careering Podcast, a collection of rants and reckons on all things career, hosted by author and creator of Careering 8, Melissa Davies, and her partner in crime, Kelsey Ingalls. If you're brave enough, take a seat, settle in and listen as we tackle difficult career and workplace issues. Sometimes we'll be wrong, sometimes we'll be right, but we will deliver it with confidence and a touch of colourful language, so it will at least be entertaining.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Careering Podcast. I am your co-host Kelsey Ingalls, and I'm here with author and creator of Careering 8, Melissa Davies. Hey Melissa, how are you?
I am fabulous, Kelsey. Thank you.
Are you actually fabulous? Or
Yes.
are you just like, I'm coming in hot?
Both of those things. Actually, I'm tired, and that's going to take me straight to my theme of the week, which is coffee.
Coffee is your theme of the week.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Coffee.
Tell us why coffee.
So my naturopath a few weeks ago said, just for a couple of months now, I need to give up coffee. And years ago, I'd read somewhere that if you can't go without something, then you probably have an addiction to it. So years ago, I gave up coffee for a month, no big deal. It was fine. At the start of this year, when I did the Vipassana silent meditation, went without coffee for 11 days. All good, doesn't affect me physically. But what I realized when I first gave up coffee is the thing I missed the most was the ritual around it. Like, I love that first sip of hot black coffee, hands around the cup. Like, it's like a mindful moment. And so I've been thinking about that a lot because I really fucking miss it. So
I honestly don't know how you're doing it. I couldn't switch coffee for tea. I would be a mess. I'd be a fucking nightmare to work with. Fuck, I'd be a troll. I did it once and I just could, like the headaches, it was just not worth it.
Oh, I feel like I should just polish my halo now because thank you for making me feel better that I've suffered through.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your theme of the week?
Oh, I just want winter to be over. I just want it to be done. I'm sick of waking up in the dark. I'm sick of like going home in the dark. I'm sick of the dark. I just don't want it to be dark anymore. I want it to be summer and I want it to be light at 9:30 at night. And I want to go to the beach. And I'm just done. I'm done. I don't want to anymore.
I hear you. I'm the person that gets seasonal affective disorder after 2 days of grey. I hate winter.
It's not fair. And I know that we haven't got long to go, but I would like it to be shorter. Please, pretty please. If you could just do something about that for me, that'd be great.
It just means you have to fill your days with lots of fun things so time flies.
Like recording podcasts.
And work and all those fun things. All the adulting fun
I know
things.
that I said recording podcasts in like a real tone, but I meant it. It was fun. It's a fun thing. I might also do some day drinking in there at some point as well.
Good
because
girl.
apparently
Back
that is
on-
a theme for me.
Yeah, back on brand.
Back on
Pleased
brand.
to hear it.
Right, what are we talking about this week? What are we talking about?
You set us up beautifully for a segue because we're talking about winter work chat. Just
God.
a general roll-up of what's happening. Because I was out for dinner the other week at a friend's birthday and I was sat at the head of the table and assumed that meant...
Holding court.
Yeah, so inadvertently holding court at the head of the table because I got to discussing one of my favourite topics, the economy and economic policy.
Of course. Of course.
Because, inflation is at 7.3% and unemployment is below 4%, and it has not been that low since 1986. And that means so many things for all of us, but most importantly, the key takeout for me is that if you are gainfully employed and want to be gainfully employed doing work that you prefer, now's the time to go out and get the job you want.
Yep, very, very true.
Yeah, and it just really showed me that it's probably just a good time to have a bit of an informal chat about all of those things around what's happening in the workplace, how to go and get a new job. If you haven't tested the job market in a while, even salary benchmarking, it's a good opportunity to do that. Yeah. And so, I thought we should have a bit of a chat about what's happening in wintry old Aotearoa and work.
I'm on board. Let's do it. Let's roll.
Let's chat. So we've talked about your view on winter. What are you hearing in the job market? Are you seeing any sort of roles that are hard to recruit for? Any trends?
I think everyone I talk to in businesses are struggling to recruit, struggling to find people, and struggling to find both technical skill sets, but struggling to find people that fit their organisation as well. And I guess, I'm having a lot of conversations around employment brands and business brands themselves and how to show up better for the candidate market.
Good.
Businesses are doing a lot more work on themselves so that employees actually want to work there so they can compete at that level. And it's not often in my last, years of experience that businesses are going, how do we make ourselves better so people can want to come and work here? You can definitely see the shift. And so good businesses are having those conversations. Bad businesses are just going, people don't want to work with us.
That's so cool. I love that. I'm a big a big champion for a good employee value proposition and branding yourself appropriately, and knowing that your customer-facing brand might look different or sound different to your employees, future employees.
Yeah, having some good conversations with some businesses on how to think outside the box and how to do open days in their businesses, or how to do family days to talk about it, and what kind of stories they need to tell of the people that actually work there, and how to get those stories out into the communities. And it's nice to see people investing in making the place better by looking at their culture and how to improve the proposition for the employees, but also thinking outside the box when it comes to recruitment and not just shoving an ad up on Seek.
I was interested in that specifically too, around that process of applying for roles, so if you flip it to the candidate side, what's your take on CVs these days and cover letters?
It's really interesting because I feel like a lot of people have different opinions and different approaches to it. And my approach, if I'm looking at CVs and cover letters, I'm like, if you're waffling on it, I'm not going to read it. If it's a whole bunch of jargon and a whole bunch of waffle, I'm not even going to bother. I'll read a couple of keywords, and then if I can't get a gist of where you're coming from, it gets really hard to stand out. I've definitely seen some freaking terrible CVs come through where it's just I had one and it was 10 pages long and it was just too much detail, and I was just like, you're applying for a role where one of the key skills is to be concise and detail orientated, and this is not it. And so I've seen Spectrum, I've seen fantastic ones where people just stand out from the crowd, and they've designed it themselves, and they've linked to their websites or their social media profiles, and they've given you a real understanding of who they are as a person and what skills they bring to that role. But then I've seen the opposite end where it was they've given you so much waffle you can't figure out who the person actually is underneath all of the words.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think different levels of role require different level of insight.
Yeah.
What about cover letters? What's your take on those?
I like a cover letter, and it might make me old school, but I like a good story. I think we freak out at cover letters. A lot of candidates freak out at, oh my God, I've got to do a cover letter. What do I put in it? And they miss the opportunity to really sell themselves and really tell a good story about themselves. And they kind of, you can see the ones that have read the articles online that go, right, I must say that I am really excited to apply for this role and I have these skills. and just kind of cookie cutter cover letters. I'm like, this is an opportunity to sell yourself. I remember at one point when I had no job, it was after my accident, had no job, gave no fucks. I was like, I have to get something, but I can't be sitting in an office. I'm in a remote part of New Zealand, has to be a remote job. So I applied for a job and I just wrote this story. And I was like, hey, this is my situation. And I'm really I'm looking for something cool to do. And this seems really cool. And I'd be really interested. And they called me the day I submitted it. And they were like, we loved your cover letter. We love your story. Let's talk more. And I was just like, okay, so there is some benefit in not giving a fuck and just submitting something. Did show up for me. But also at the same time, a cover letter is a good opportunity to tell a wider story about your skill set, but just tell it in an interesting way that shows your personality too.
It's so interesting you say that, because as I'm listening to you speak, I think about for certain roles, that's absolutely the way to go. in the board space. So
totally different.
Yeah, like
no, I'm thinking from my experience when I'm employing at a doing level and a leadership level rather than a board leadership level.
Yeah, because it's so interesting. Whereas I think boards would benefit from actually knowing the personalities of the people they're recruiting.
Yeah,
because it would change.
What's your
dynamic.
experience in applying for board roles?
Yeah, so one of the things I've always done is I'm also a fan of a cover letter. Both I do them when I apply for roles, but also when I'm hiring people, I love a good cover letter.
Yeah.
And what I tend to do is if I'm applying for a board role, they'll often have, we're looking for someone with these 3 or 4 areas of expertise, and then they usually have a wish list of 20 other things they want.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah, so in my cover letter, what I do is I try to make it really easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager or the chairperson of the board to see that I'm a good fit for what they're looking for. So I will call out the ones they identify as being the most significant. And I'll say, please see below where I've noted that what you're seeking and my level of competency in these areas. And then I talk about, if you see in my CV, I worked for this organisation, here's what I did specifically that gave evidence of that competency or skill set.
Yeah.
And I just do, a few of those and then talk about other things that could be relevant, in terms of personal experiences or what have you.
Yeah.
And I always get really good feedback on that because what I'm thinking about is a marketing thing, right? I go, who's my audience? How do I make their life easier?
But then I call back to our teaching experience in China.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the recruiter or the person on the other end has an assessment criteria.
Yes.
And your job description is like the homework assignment, and they're giving you the instructions, and they put the things in there that they want to see, and then they assess you against those things. And I think back to when I was a student and going, oh my God, I don't know what this means. I don't understand what it means. And like the one best piece of advice that I ever got from a lecturer was, read the fucking assignment and it will tell you exactly what I'm asking you to do. Like, go through and pick out the key words and make sure that you are assessing yourself against that, because that's how they're going to assess you.
That's so true. It is so true. And especially now with a lot of recruiters using software to find candidates.
Yeah.
And one of the things I often say to people is, even if you're not actively looking for a new role, have an up-to-date CV on record at the bigger recruitment firms, because they will scan their database and look for talent. And right now, with such low unemployment, your dream job, you might think you're 3 years away from your dream job, and someone out there might be looking for someone like you and willing to invest in your training and development. But if you hold yourself back because you think you're not ready, I just truly think that right now we could all do with a boost, and there's great jobs going. And for the first time in a really long time, employers are considering the wildcard candidates. And I mean, that's something I've always been a massive fan of. And when I recruit, I'm always like, if I'm using an external recruiter, I'll be like, give me the top candidates and give me a wild card or two. And most of the time, I end up hiring the wild cards.
Yeah.
And I think now more than ever, if you're looking to move from one industry to another or move into a field that you're interested in but haven't got experience in, now's the time to start those conversations.
And I'm a big fan of using a recruiter if I'm looking for a new role. It's just they make life a bit easier, to be honest with you. They do a lot of the grunt work for you. But I'm getting emails from the recruiters that I've previously signed up with going, can you make sure that your stuff is updated in our database, please? Because we need to know who's available and where. So recruiters are actively emailing and reaching out and going, make sure we know about you, please.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's absolutely, you should always be testing the market, whether you love your job or not. I think it's important to have an external check-in to see whether you're getting paid what you're worth, what opportunities exist. And, I think the other thing I'm really interested in is that the jobs that don't yet exist and the jobs that are non-office jobs. And I think this was stimulated because a lady who listens to us suggested that we have a chat about what some non-traditional, non-office jobs might look like. And I think the future of work is changing. Well, the forecast for the future of work is changing so rapidly. And I think it's so interesting because right now, when I went through the Immigration New Zealand skills shortage list to see what industries were really struggling.
Everything.
But they're really traditional jobs that there's skill shortages for.
Nursing, tradies, engineers.
Yep. So it hasn't really changed. And what was insightful for me is one of my good friends runs an engineering firm here in Christchurch, and he said that they can't get CNC operators. They've got 3 vacancies and an apprenticeship, and they can't find anybody. And I calibrated that with another friend of mine, and he said, they can't even, they're struggling to find people in the trades. And so, the skill shortage talked about trade apprentices, skilled CNC operators, electricians, diesel mechanics, engineering, finance, health, medical, physio, social sciences, psychologists, a wide range of technology roles, so multimedia, developers, environmental scientists, and chefs.
Chefs? Well, I suppose because we had so many international chefs working in New Zealand that are no longer here. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so I think if you were, wondering, if thinking about training, reskilling, there's some clear evidence that says New Zealand has a skill shortage in these areas.
Yeah.
If you're looking for, a pathway that would guarantee work, that's a smart way to start looking at things.
Yeah,
and if you want
definitely.
to move sideways into those areas, now's the time to knock on the door and have a conversation with employers that you'd want to work for and whether they'd support you to upskill in those areas.
I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was a shot from one of Duncan Garner's radio things. Not often where I would come on a podcast and say that I was watching a Duncan Garner TikTok, but he had someone call up and was talking about how there was a dude from Australia wandering around construction sites up in Auckland, going up to all the tradies going, hey, we'll pay your base minimum $75 an hour, and we will pay for your first year rent if you just jump on a plane and come over to Oz right now. And with, if people are in that tactic level at the moment, now is the time to make a shift.
Yeah, 100%. And I think back to when I was working for BOC in Queensland, we had branches in Mount Isa and Mackay, which are big mining towns. And so the job market was super tight and people were getting paid $80,000 a year to drive a forklift. And so trying to find staff that could work behind the retail counter and serve customers was really tough.
Yeah.
And so what we often did, especially in Mount Isa in particular, we would offer staff, if they stayed up there for 2 years, they were bonded for 2 years, we would pay for their tertiary qualification if they were happy to study remotely.
Nice.
And we would pay for their rent.
Awesome.
And so we paid them definitely well above typical market rates. They weren't paying rent and they were being paid to study. And so we ended up finding
fucking dream.
Oh, it was, but you got to live in Mount Isa. Where
That's also true.
Fucking hot. The first time I landed there, it was like a scene from Roadrunner with Wile E. Coyote, and I reckon I could have seen tumbleweed, and it was just really extreme. I was not prepared for how hot it was. It was 40 degrees at 9 o'clock at night. It was ridiculous.
Oh God.
But the people were awesome. It was so weird though, because even then, probably similar to where we're at now in terms of hospitality, struggling to find staff, there was only a couple of cafes in town and they were only open certain hours. So the McDonald's was only open, from 7 a.m. till 11 a.m. and then open again from 5 till 7 at night, and just because they couldn't get staff.
Yeah, and it's happening all across the country. Yes, it's happening in your city centres, but I would hazard a guess to say that the smaller towns across New Zealand are struggling even more. I went home to a small town, New Zealand, and half the cafes aren't opening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's too hard. They don't have the people there for it.
Well, now that I'm not a daily coffee drinker, I'm less concerned. No, I am concerned for those businesses, though, because, running a small business in hospitality is hard.
Oh, it's hard enough when things are going well in the middle of summer, let alone running it in the middle of winter and not being able to have any staff to keep you open.
It also makes me think about the staff that are there. So on Saturday, had a beautiful lunch with friends in Christchurch in the central city. And the food was amazing, and the staff were clearly rushed off their feet, and they handled it beautifully. They were awesome, and we spoke to the front of house, and he said they were 2 people short due to COVID that morning that they hadn't anticipated.
Yeah.
And everything was handled beautifully. But what it made me realise is how much pressure people are that are still in the workplace. Yeah. Having people away from them off sick, with the flu, with colds, with COVID, and then vacancies. And so I keep thinking, I thought this is a good opportunity to remind everyone about looking after themselves, because if you're in a workplace right now, you might be being squeezed because your workload will be increasing. Yeah,
absolutely. I think everyone's feeling the pinch, but I think everyone's been feeling the pinch for a long time now, and it doesn't seem we've got a very long tail on this, and there's no ends in sight. And when you've got employers who are just struggling and fighting to find people, and I'm not going to lie, I've had people in my LinkedIn messages from competitors going, hi, we'll pay you a $5,000 signing bonus if you come over and talk to us. And just employing tactics like that, it's hard to, one, keep people, two, find the replacements, and then you've got people going, fix it, I'm stressed, and you're going, I don't know how. It's a shitty situation for everybody.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not isolated to certain industries.
No.
And I think that's where, again, I've always had this belief that we don't need one professional pathway for a whole lifetime. I've always thought about retraining, and I guess my career path reflects that, and I love that.
Isn't it like a standard now that millennials have at least three completely different careers in their lifetime?
I love that. Yeah, but I've always believed in that repositioning and retraining because I think what you want and what's important to you in the work that you enjoy changes as you evolve. And yeah, I think it's awesome to think about, you know, what else that might look like. And I do think about the future work and jobs that are changing and, you know, what kind of work you'll enjoy. And, you know, I've got friends that work in a variety of roles from, you know, vet nurses to landscape gardeners to graphic designers. And, you know, those skills are still in demand.
Yeah.
And I think you and I work in typically businessy environments. And so, you know, we probably see that pressure. But I know, like you say, construction, health, etc., all those sectors are struggling at the moment too. And yeah, so I think if you're working in one lane and you think, hey, I'd love to have a career change and jump over there's a whole lot of skills that you'll have that'll be really transferable. And it might not be obvious to the hiring manager or the recruiter. And that's where a good cover letter can be really helpful, right?
100%. And I think like conversations I've had with people that have been applying for new jobs recently or looking for other jobs, just being able to talk about it with them and go, yeah, but you do this thing that shows that you've got a deep knowledge of, like a deep ability in problem solving, or you've got this piece that was really, really key to leadership that could translate over there. Like having someone else to bat that around with is really important.
Oh, and so what kind of roles have you sort of seen or heard about that you think, oh, that looks fun or interesting, or if I was starting out in the workforce, I'd jump and play in this field? Anything that you're seeing? Other than being a TikToker.
Yeah, I want a career as an influencer. Oh, God, I'd be the worst influencer. I'd just be like, buy everything. It's all great. Not really. To be fair, I haven't really been looking at job boards or anything. But one of my favourite stories is my mum has worked in retail for decades. Like, has done it, like, been in it since she was 16, and like the last 10 years she's like, you know, might just quit and go and drive a truck. She's just like, oh, you know, I could see myself driving one of those big ass trucks. I'm just like, do it, go on. Now's the time.
Your mum and my mum have similar ambitions in life, because my mum's dream job is to drive a ride-on lawnmower and maintain lawns, like bare grounds person.
Oh my God.
She loves mowing lawns. She's like, if I could just do that, I'd be so happy. I'd have my headphones on, listen to music, and I just make it look perfect. She'd be so good at it.
She would be very good at it. I mean, Melissa's got a friend who skippers a boat in Kaikoura, and I see her Instagram and I was like, damn, that looks like a good life. Like, by the beach and dolphins and on the water. I'm like, I wouldn't trust me with a boat though.
Let's not start sharing our boat escapades.
Yeah, no.
I don't come off looking great in these stories.
Neither do I.
But yeah, I love her story too, and the fact that she is doing something she absolutely loves.
Yeah, super passionate about it. Yeah. What about you? Have you seen anything where you're like, if I was going to get a job, I'd go that way?
Oh, I would have done neuroscience and then... but then you have to...
like driving a truck or like going and completely restudying for the next like 10 years.
Yeah, I think the challenge though is with neuroscience is you have to do, you know...
Ooby goobies. And you wouldn't want to cut anything open.
No, I couldn't do it. So I'm glad there are neuroscientists out there. I think when I think about the future of work and jobs that exist that don't exist now, or non kind of office-based jobs, we are in a services economy, and, you know, a production economy is create product, make product. So the jobs are aligned with the production of things, whereas now we're in a services economy. So I think the roles that are going to be really valuable in the future are less about the production of things. So they'll always there's always hot demand for those, which we talked about on the skills list. So whether it's technology, building platforms, or building websites, or
just on the topic of building things, I saw this stat the other day. We have now officially, as a planet, reached the tipping point where there are now more man-made things in the world than natural things. How terrifying is that? Anyway, so now, good thing we're not building any things anymore, and now we're doing services. Talk more.
Yeah. Have I talked about down in Stewart Island, about the bridge that keeps getting eaten up?
No.
Oh, so talking about man-made things. So when I was down in Wanaka the other week, hiked up to Rob Roy Glacier through knee-deep snow, which was amazing. It was beautiful, but geez, it was hard work. And up the top, met these two ladies, and so we chatted away with them. And we're giving each other tips on hikes to go on. That'd be awesome. And one of the ladies was saying that the Stewart Island track is awesome, but she said don't do it as the full loop hike because there's this whole section that is just like slogging it out through mud. And I was like, yeah, that does not sound fun. And she explained that apparently they'd tried, the dock ranger explained this to her. So I have no evidence of this. I trust what she's telling me.
Anecdotal,
yes. That they've tried to build like a boardwalk around this certain part, but there's almost like a little microclimate, and the biodiversity is so strong down there that it keeps disintegrating and getting eaten up by the environment. And I love that. I love that, Papatuanuku, Mother Earth is going, no, we're going to eat that.
Fuck you, no.
Yeah, stop taking over everything. And so I wonder if now that there's more man-made structures around the world, the Earth's going to be like, hold up.
I think you've just described climate change.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not start on that topic.
No.
Again, it'll be an 8-hour podcast.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about service economy.
Yeah, so, that was a little tangent. So services economy. So I think there's jobs that we haven't yet thought of, which will be all about supporting people to do things. So I think about, imagine being a party planner at a rest home. We've got an...
Oh my God.
I know.
Holy
right?
Shit, I want that job.
Yeah, I think about this kind of stuff where I go, we have an aging population, we have an urbanized population, and we still need things. We still need someone to support us to go, especially as we age and we lose our ability to drive everywhere or interpret information in the way we want to, or technology seems hard to understand. There could be jobs around supporting those caring, sort of nurturing, supportive roles that we haven't even thought of, like entertainment in rest homes, food, exercise, that kind of thing, photography. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that I think around as our lifespan grows to plus. If you're a girl born in New Zealand now, your lifespan is like 94.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a long time to be up and about.
Yeah, so if you retired at a...
I'm tired now and I'm in my early 30s. So how the fuck am I going to make it to 94?
You're going to check into a rest home that has an amazing party planner and you're going to, kick your heels up every Tuesday.
And have a great time.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. I'm on board.
Yeah, but I guess the services are things that sit alongside traditional products. So I think there's so much potential. We haven't yet cracked what could exist. And I know there's always talk about technology, but I think as technology becomes more of an enabler, it's the services that are going to create the real experiences. Because if we're living longer, we want more rockstar experiences. We don't want more data.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was my my big esoteric thought from my economic rant. Thanks for joining in. I really appreciate it. The takeouts from you girls.
There are more jobs than people looking for them at the moment, so it's your economy to go and ask for what you need, ask for what you want, and if you want to switch careers, fucking go for it.
100%. That's a perfect summary. The addition I have is, if you are recruiting for roles, get yourself an employee value proposition, an employee brand. There's so many great examples out there. Get your Google on and find some. And if you are recruiting, consider the wildcard candidates, the people that you might have eliminated previously, because you might find yourself a rock star or two. Awesome. So hit us with your TikTok.
Right. This week I have a TikTok from, who is she? She is the 4-letter word co. And this is a demotivational quote of the day.
Welcome to Demotivational Quote of the Day. Life's hard, but it's even harder if you're fucking stupid.
Not wrong. Just throw it out for today. Just a nice little short one. So, Melissa, what's your tweet of the week?
So, my tweet of the week is from a Twitter account called Owl at the Library.
Like it.
And it says, I hope I never lose my curiosity. I hope I'm still texting my friends at the age of 100. Would you believe there are supermassive black holes at the centre of nearly every galaxy? The most attractive thing you can do in this world is cultivate a sense of perpetual wonder.
I love that.
So thank you again for listening in. We will be releasing these episodes regularly wherever you get your podcasts. So please subscribe, chuck us 5 stars. We'd be very grateful. And like us on all the channels. We love questions, stories, and topic ideas. So please send them our way. So until next time, get out there, back yourself, and find a job that makes you happy.